Hello everybody, I'm going to be showing you how to draw an 8-head proportional figure today. And I like to start with the easiest scale that I can think of, and that is one head being 1 inch. In figure drawing, the measurements are often given in terms of how many heads tall a figure is. And for our purposes, we're going to be working with the 8-head figure. So I start with a central line, and I have these little 1-inch divisions. And I'm going to start with the head, top of the head, between that first section. And for ease, I'm going to label my lines just so it's easier to see. Once you get good at this, you won't really have to mess with the guidelines, but for right now it'll be easier to see. And there's line 9 down here. So the first thing I like to do is I like to place the shoulders, which on a female figure typically going to be 1.5 heads. In this scale it happens to be 1.5 inches. Then down on the waist, we've got 1 inch, or 1 head. And down on the hip line, we got 1.5. And then we can connect the dots to form the torso and hip region. The neck, take from the widest point of the head, and we're going to draw a V shape down to about the center between lines 1 and 2, so line 1.5. And that's where I like to connect the neck, and from here give indications of the collarbone. Shape that neck up a little bit. This V does a nice stand-in for the ligaments and muscles in the neck. And it's starting to look like a person. Big thing to remember is that half of a person's height is the lower part of the body, from 4 to 8. So this is where your legs would come together. This is the crotch line, base of the hips, and 6 here, line 6, this is where we're going to find the bottom of the knee joints. And the ankles you'll find on line 8. And we got our feet coming down from there. Arms. Elbows are going to line up with the waist. The wrist will line up with the hip line. And the hand is going to come about 3/4 of the way down. Just giving indications of hand shape. So we've got ourselves a proportional stick figure. And from here we can kind of fill out the lower legs and the toes. The simple shapes. We have our proportional stick figure. Line 2 here is where we're going to find the chest, center of chest. So for purposes of placing construction detail lines on a mannequin, where you'd have your sweetheart neckline, princess seams, center front seam. Drawing figures this way is a good way to start thinking about these construction details, but let's not overcomplicate things. Just keep it simple. Waistline, hip line, chest, collarbone, neck muscles. And there's our basic proportional female figure. So if we remember that it's 2 heads from hip to knee and 2 heads from the bottom of the knee to the ankle, half the person's height is the leg, and we're using this head as an indicator to give us a sense of body proportion. And we can work from the skeleton here. Drawing in 3/4 scale is very much the same process. You start with that center spine, and instead of 1 head is 1 inch, I'm going to go with 1 head being 3/4 of an inch. And here's our 0. There's the head. Shoulder is halfway between the next set of lines. Here's chest, waist, hip, and we can start connecting the dots to begin the figure. Now, if I'm going to put the legs in a different position, I want to remember that 2 heads is the measurement from hip to knee. And if I don't have a ruler, one of the things I can use is the edge of a piece of paper. So if I've got my 3/4 measurement, I can make myself a little reference guide using a piece of scrap paper. And then I can put my figure in a different sort of pose. Yeah, let's bring that one in a little bit. My figure is slightly off kilter, so I've got this like shoulder hip tilt thing going on. And whenever you see this compression, where it's traveling inward, this is the side that's bearing the weight. So this side is going to be kind of planted. Here's my foot. And then this side over here is going to be a little bit more free. The side that's open here. Whereas this side is squashed inward. We've got the rib cage kind of touching the hip bones, whereas this side's more open. This is the free side. This is the side that I can kind of play with a little bit to put the figure in a more dynamic pose, because there's no weight on this side. So there's that crotch line. Upper leg, knee joint, lower leg, calf muscle, and my distance from shoulder to waist is going to be 1.5 heads. So I'm just going to eyeball like a half in here on my little ruler that I made. And this way I can put the arms into different positions. But it's 1 head from elbow to wrist, and then 3/4, which is going to be about there. I can start posing these figures a little bit more dynamically. This one looks really stiff, whereas this 3/4 figure looks a little bit more in motion. So it's the same 8-head scale. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here's where my ankle joint should be. So I can elongate this even more. I know it looks like a lot of leg, but this is the stock costume design figure. Your average person is more like a 7-head figure, but when you elongate the figures like this, the intention of your clothing designs will come out a little bit clearer. But we will be learning how to draw different body types as we go. This is just a body type, but it's the same proportions, whether it's one head is 1 inch or one head is 3/4 of an inch.